Hello everyone and welcome to another Close to My Heart Twisted Sisters YouTube hop. This is a hop that we do at the beginning of every new catalogue. So we each select a different product from within the catalogue and we twist it into a way that you might not have already thought of. So if you haven't done so already, make sure you check out the videos that have gone before me. There will be many more videos after me as well for April, and we are focusing on the April-June catalogue, which has a fabulous range of papers. I love each and every paper selection in this, but what I've decided to twist today is this one die, and I'm going to make 3 different projects that you might not have thought of when you're looking at this one die. I'll just open the catalogue so I can show you in a larger form than what's in front of me here. This is the stamp set. It comes with 8 thin cuts, and when you look at the set, it's very floral. There's some gorgeous sentiments as well, and the thin cuts here are shown at actually 50% of the actual size. So this arch one I'm going to use, you can see it works really well on a card base. You could make a window from it as well. It's quite a good set actually. I love the detailed florals in this one. They're a little bit different from the bigger florals that we've had in the past, so I love that these have delicate images. And this oval shape here you could use as an Easter egg as well. And the projects that I'm going to work with today to show you, as I said, there are 3 different ones, are all going to be Easter gift related. So I'm just going to pack all of this away because I don't need anything else out of this set. I'm going to bring in my scoreboard, and the first item I'm going to make is this treat box. Now you could use this as a regular gift box if you have some jewelry or a little soaps or something like that to put in it, but I'm going to be putting an Easter egg in this one today. I quite like this one with the love story papers. This is still available, and I've purposefully used 2 different paper patterns so that they contrast. So what I thought I would do, I've already pre-stamped my image, and this is using Snuggle Up. I'm just using this little bunny here. He's designed to actually hold something, but I think he looks quite cute on his own without having to have a little string with balloons or something in it. I'm going to use the Life's a Hoot papers. So I've got those. These are from the January to March catalogue, and I believe they're still available. If they are, I will link them below. There is a little bit of a crossover. Products from the most recent catalogue do disappear off the website while the new one is loaded up, but this might come back in a few days. But I love these papers, and I love how fun they are and how cool they'll look for this project. So you can see I've got little templates here all ready to go. So I'm doing 12 by 3. Now I have a bit of a confession, it's not quite 3 inches. I will show you on the scoreboard, I have cut it just shy of 3 inches, and that's to help with the cutting with this die. This measures exactly 3 inches wide, but when you actually cut with it and the piece is already cut, I did want it to be just a little bit narrower. So it's probably about 1/16 of an inch smaller, just so that it fits perfectly. So I'm going to put my little cheat sheet here because as I said, and I showed you just before, I do have things already made with this, so I've done trial runs to make sure that this all works. So I'm going to score at 4.5 and at 7.5, and then I'm going to do the same thing for the other pattern paper. So 7.5 and 4.5. And then what I want to do is just cut this section here from my strip. Obviously I don't want to cut this part here because that's going to be used in the construction. So there are 2 ways of doing it. You can slide it over like this and run it all the way through, but it's quite a long piece, or you can just do some partial die cutting. So what I mean by that is you just don't need to run it all the way through your die cutting machine. And I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to do actually a twofer. So if I line this up like so, I'm going to turn it round to the side that I want to show. And I can cut both of these at the same time. So it just reduces the amount of die cutting I have to do. I'm going to bring in my old Cuttlebug. I do have the Close to My Heart die cutting machine, but this just fits a little easier on top of my desk. So I'm holding these 2 pieces together, making sure they're aligned, and then I'm going to put this down cover this up, and I've just bumped it, so I want to make sure it's still nice and aligned. And then I'm going to wind through until I know that this arch piece is cut, and then wind back again. And then I just need to gently peel this tape back off because I don't want to rip my paper. So I'm going to peel away this piece first, just to make sure. If you pull it back on itself, it won't tear the paper at all. And if you get a little overhanging piece, you can just take that off and we can trim that down with a trimmer later on. And then I need to do exactly the same thing for the other side and repeat the same process, just winding this through partially and then winding back again. I am going to bring my scoreboard in again because I do want to mark the center point of this to help with the construction and also to know where I'm going to put my little holes to tie everything together. So I've centered this on the board so you can see it's 1.5 inches out from the 6, and then I'm just going to put a little score line down the center of each of these. And putting these little score lines in will help with lining everything up properly. And as I said, punching the hole. Now, if you're using pattern paper, you don't want to press too hard because you don't want to rip your paper. So now I've got the score lines there that will help me line up where I want to put my little holes at the top. And I can do 2 of these at once. I've got one of these Brita hole punches. They come with 3 different size holes, so I'm using the medium one. And I'm putting this is a self-healing mat, but I'm just putting it on top of my cutting mat from my trimmer. And then punching the holes, and you can see you can do 2 pieces of pattern paper at once. I don't know if this would do 2 pieces of cardstock at once. You could definitely try it. But I will put a link to this tool in the description below. And then I'm just putting another hole in, and then it's a case of simply adhering everything together. Now before I do that, I'm just going to reinforce these score lines and make sure that I have these all nicely lined up. So I'm just going to burnish them. Just to give a nice crisp edge to them. And do the same thing. It's a bit hard to see the score lines on the pattern paper, especially when it's a light colour on one side. You can see it better on this side, of course. So line that up. And now what I can do is adhere these 2 pieces together. I'm just going to use tape runner for this. You could use liquid glue if you wanted to, but tape runner works just fine. So what I'm going to do is just fold this up a little bit so that I know exactly where to push this edge of the paper up against. And that's the basis for our box. I'm going to just crease these in a little bit where those score lines are. It will make everything just fit in a little bit easier. So you can see how all of that comes together quite nicely. First though, I need to put my little Easter egg in. Now you could fill this up with more eggs if you wanted to, if you've got some smaller eggs, or if you wanted to put them in a little cello bag and put some other treats in here. And I've got my twine here. Now this twine is basically from the supermarket. It's used for cooking and baking and stuff like that. So I just use it as twine for my projects like this. It's 100% cotton. So now what I'm going to do is go around and string this together. Now I've started on this side, I'm going over here, and I'm coming back to here because I want to be able to tie my bow straight across the top. So now that I've got that all threaded, I've got my tails on opposite sides. So I just need to gently pull on the string to get it all to come in together. You don't want to pull too hard because the holes aren't reinforced and you don't want to rip your paper. But I do want to make sure that I've got things all nice and tight in the middle, that there's not too much gap. So you just need to fuss with it a little bit. And then once you've got it in the position that you want, you can tie a knot. Just a simple single knot, and you can see how that's pulled everything in all beautifully there, and then just simply tie a little bow. So now what I'm going to do is put my tag on, and the tag I've used is from the all-purpose tags, and it's this one here. It was just the right width. I was going to put a larger bunny rabbit on here, and this one is still available. It's from Daisy Meadows Card Making. So I checked online as I was doing the recording for this, and you can still purchase that, but he was a little bit too wide, I thought. So have a look through all of your stamp sets to see if you can find a stamp set that suits. As I said, you don't need to use these for an Easter gift. It could be Valentine's, Christmas, birthday, or just a thank you gift. And I think this sort of works quite well for any type of little treat. So now that I've threaded that through, I'm just going to tie a loose knot. I'm not going right up to the top of the bow. I want this to hang down somewhat. There we go. So there's our little rabbit there. I'm just going to trim off the twine. And this is our first gift treat box using this arch die from the Cosette card making stamp and thin cuts. How cute would these look if you coordinated all of these on the Easter table? And they really don't take long to make at all. And as I said, if you wanted to do this as another sort of theme, you don't have to be bright and pastel. You can do any sort of theme you like with the papers. Now I'm going to move on to the second gift treat using this exact same thin cut. The next Easter treat gift we're going to do is going to be a gift card holder. So I've brought in the gift card tabs there in the core catalogue, and once again we're going to use this same thin cut. I have done templates for all of the projects that I'm making today, and I will have a little handout for it. I'll put a link below to that. You'll be able to get that from my Facebook page if you want to download that and keep that and make these projects at all. I just thought it would be easier to have everything out here ready to go, and then I thought, why not do a PDF of it as well? So how this one works, it makes a cute little overlapped gift card holder that you can use for Easter or for any occasion, but I am keeping everything Easter themed today. So this one here, when you undo it, I've put a little bunny on the front, and this could be for people that I know, a couple of people that I have to do non-chocolatey things for Easter. So when they open this one, it will have a gift card for them on the inside, and then it will have a little message as well. So let's get to it and start making that one. You can see the twine that I've used for that is very fibrous. I might have to change that because it just goes everywhere. So I've got two pieces of 12-inch paper, and it's exactly the same, 12 by 3 inches, or just cut it a 1/16 of an inch less than that. Bring in my scoreboard. We're going to score both of these pieces exactly the same. I'll put this down here so that you can see it. And you can see this piece of white daisy is just a little bit longer than 12 inches. So I'm going to trim just a smidge off that. Sorry about the noise then when I got my trimmer out. So let me just trim a little bit off that and see if that fits a bit better. Perfect. Oh, I didn't actually write the score marks on there. So just let me fix that now. So we're going to score at 1/2 inch, 4 inches, 8 inches, and 1/2 inch in from this one. So that's really at 11.5. The only pieces that we're actually going to fold in though are these 4 and 8-inch pieces. These score lines here are going to be a guide for where to do your cutting for the arch piece. So let's do that now. 1/2 inch, 4 inches, 8 inches, and 11.5 or 1/2 inch from in here. And I'm using a piece of Daisy paper, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. That's a little bit long as well. So it's almost like not all 12 by 12 paper is exactly 12 by 12. So once again at 1/2 inch, 4 inches, 8 inches, and 11.5 inches. So pretty easy really to score. Now, just like I've put on these instructions here, before you adhere these two pieces together, it's a good idea to actually cut the gift card tab. So this die here doesn't cut around the outside, it just puts these 2 notches in to hold a gift card. I need to get some removable glue dots that actually helps hold things in place even more. But the reason why we want to do it on the cardstock first is so that you don't see those little notches on the pattern piece when we adhere that. So I'm going to, it might be a bit hard to actually see these little marks here, but I'm going to center that. There's my score lines. I'll just point them out with my fingers. So I'm just going to center that and run this through my die cutting machine. So now that that's gone through, you can see I've got those little notches put in there ready to hold my gift card. I'm just bringing in my die cutting machine again, and I'm going to cut these arch pieces from this die at the same time with both pieces of paper. And this is where the score lines come in handy, that 1/2 inch score line, because I've worked out exactly how much I want so that when they're folded over, it covers that part of the card. If it's too long, it doesn't quite work, and if it's too short, it won't work either. So I'm putting the die up against where the top of the die meets that score line. Now, to keep everything in place, I'm going to actually put a little bit more tape on here because I don't want this coming apart in my die cutting machine. I want these 2 pieces of paper to stay together because they're not adhered as yet. I tried adhering the 2 pieces of paper together at the same time and running this through, and it didn't quite work that well. When you go to do the folding, the pattern paper will actually bend a little bit. So it's actually better to do the die cutting first, do the folding of the base piece, this white piece, and then you can go in and adhere it together. Okay, so we've done that side. Make sure it's all lined up, turn it around, and repeat exactly the same process for this other side. So now I've got my 2 pieces. I'm going to prep the base piece. So just folding that over and burnishing it, and doing the same for the other side. Now my score lines are on here, but I'm just going to gently put that on and adhere these 2 pieces together. Now I'm not going to use liquid glue for this, I'm going to use tape runner. I find that using liquid glue can warp the paper just a little bit, so I think the tape runner is the way to go. Now what you want to be careful of, you can't put tape over the top of these areas here because you want those to be able to pop up for your gift card. I'm going to line this up. Right, so I'm just making sure I've got this all nicely lined up. And I've got a little bit of white showing here, so I'm just going to go to my trimmer and trim that little bit off, and then ease these over and burnish them. And the paper sits nice and flat when you do it this way. I'm just running my burnishing or my scoring tool over that to make everything all nice and flat. And then of course I need to punch some holes so I can tie everything together. So what I'm going to do is line this up on my Versamat, and I'm going to come down about 1/2 inch, and I've got my 6 inches here, and I'm going to put a little pen mark there so I know where to do my hole punch. 1/2 inch. Bring out my cutting plate again, line this up over top and punch down. It will go through, this tool will go through the pattern paper and the cardstock, and do exactly the same thing. And then I need to punch 2 more holes so that I can thread back up again. So I've folded this back over itself, and I'm going to draw a little pen mark where I need to do the hole on this side, and flip it back over and do exactly the same thing, so that when I punch this, these are going to be lined up perfectly. So now you can see that I've put that back together, and you can see the 2 holes. Now I've got a little happy Easter, or I have a hoppy Easter to put on the inside here. So that's just a little message once the gift card is removed. I'm going to put my little bunny over the top here. I'm not going to use foam tape. I'm just going to use my dot roller. I want this to be fairly well covered, so I'm just going to move that aside so that I can adhere it liberally over all his little ears and everything, so that nothing pokes up and gets in the way when we do the bow on the front. He looks so cute on this floral paper. I really, really love it. Now I've got a very long piece of twine here. So this is 12 inches, 22 inches, so double that, 44 inches long. And I'm going to bring in my needle again. This has got a very wide sort of opening here to make it nice and easy to thread everything through. And I'm doing this in a double to make it nice and sturdy. So I'll just slide my gift card in. So that will be a nice surprise when someone opens this. So I'm going to have one tail out, so I need to go down and through. I'm just doing this on a little bit of an angle so that I can pull that through. Leave a tail, and it does flip up a little bit, so that if I turn it around this way you can see, so that I can put my needle through here and back up through this hole on the front. And I want to make sure that these 2 lengths are roughly the same size. Now you probably don't need to cut your twine as long as what I did, but I wanted to make sure that I had enough. I can always trim it off later. So I'll trim that off. Now I'm going to put my scissors down here. These are the scissors I use to cut twine and fabric and things like that with, rather than my paper scissors. But that's just going to help hold everything nice and flat while I tie this, because these little flaps will pop up. So there's my gift number 2, and I really love how they look and the point of difference that they have between the floral paper, and this paper here is from Fresh Paint. So that's project number 2. I'm going to clear this away and I'll be back with project number 3. And what we're going to make now is a matchbook treat holder, and this could also be used to put out on a table. So I'll show you the one that I prepared earlier. So basically what I've done is go through my stash of pattern paper. So a stash of paper and craft supplies is almost like a stash of chocolate to me, and I actually found some hidden away today, which we were a little bit happy about as we were watching a movie tonight. But this little matchbook treat holder is not that hard to make. So, and it will will stand up if you pull out the little gift that you have there, or you could just place it onto a dinner plate and you could put a little glue dot at the front just to keep that flap closed. But for the purposes of this, I wanted to keep it open so you could see the construction of it. I've got a little guide here as well, so that you know exactly what you're going to be doing for this. Now this one has 3.5 inches and 3 7/8, and this is cut at 6 by 3, or just a 1/16 short of the 3 inches. So the first score I'm going to do is at 3.5. But I don't actually have a little line at this 3 7/8 area. See, that's blank there. So what I'm going to do is just move this up to 3 5/8 and then score back down. So I get that little gap here that is 3/8 of an inch. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing for this paper. So 3.5, and if you don't have the 3 7/8, just move that up and go to 4 inches, or whatever works for you with the type of scoreboard you've got, or if you use a trimmer that's got a scoring blade, that works really well as well. So now what I'm going to do for this is the same procedure I did before. I'm going to cut this arch element in the top and also do it for this one. Now this one's a little bit different. I want the pattern paper on the outside for the flap that folds down. So you can see I've got the pattern paper here, but I've got it on the inside for this one. So I'm just going to crease this a little bit more so I can see it, and I'm going to trim this off at that crease mark. So that's 3.5 inches. I'm going to just burnish this, and also for my white base as well. So any colour combination, any pattern paper or theme to go with your decor would work for these sorts of gifts. Or if you're not having a function and you just want to gift these out to people that you love, you can do that without having to match everything all up. So this one is going to go over top, and then I need to align this up. How pretty does that look? I need to put this pattern paper underneath, making sure I have those scallop sort of edges all nicely lined up. And then I'm going to bring in my little gift. I've got too many in there, I might have to eat those. Folding that over, I want to line it up a little bit. So there we go, and that's about right. And then I'm just going to bring in a stapler and staple that at the top right, and staple again. So basically this piece here measures at 3 inches by 3.5 inches, which is the back of our Matchbook treat holder. And I've used this Daisy Meadows card making. I'll put a link to that below. And I've just stamped that in glacier ink with black ink over top. And a little border, I've done exactly the same thing on this one, but with lemonade ink. The border here is this little dot as well. So I've just stamped around the edge of that. So let's just adhere this on. And if you have any overhang at all, because we have trimmed this down a little bit, you can just go in with your scissors and trim the edge off. Now I want to finish off the front of this. I'm going to put a little bunny and a couple of the little carrots. Actually, I think I might put the bunny on the back and just put a couple of little carrots on the front. I've put some foam dots on him. How cute is he sitting there on the little bottom area? So here are my little Matchbook treat holders, just for a few little eggs, or you could put candy, or we call it lollies here in Australia, and then a little area on the back that you can write a little greeting on. Here are all the finished projects, 3 totally different gifts that you can make just using this one die. So once again, this is from the Cosette card making stamp and thin cuts, and these shapes are totally flexible. I know that there are so many different things that you can do with this, and the florals are just so pretty with all of these gorgeous sentiments as well. But I wanted to make some Easter treats to share with you today. So first up, we had these gorgeous little gift bags that are so easy to put together and will look totally different on a table depending on what pattern papers you use. These gift card holders with their gorgeous little rounded edges, and also the Matchbook treat holders. They are really quite cute to make. They're a lot of fun, and you can adapt this to any paper pattern or theme, Christmas, birthday, even if you're doing little favors for a birthday party. This would look really good filled with something inside. You could even put little tiny candles and things like that in there as well. I hope you enjoyed what I've shown you today, and it will inspire you to dress up your little Easter treats. Make sure you click on the link below. I'll have a link to the playlist so you'll be able to check out what all the other people are doing for the CTMH Twisted Sisters YouTube hop with products featured from the April, May, June catalogue. Happy Easter everyone, happy crafting, and bye for now. Yum, they're for me.